that the Maral made. It was put into the attic, and my understanding is, I spoke to the Chabad rabbi that's in Prague. The attic is empty right now, so I don't know what happened to it, if it disintegrated. It's made out of clay. I guess it doesn't last forever. But that was what the golem served. Now, golems do not have brains. So there's a story, and I don't know if this story is true, but it could have happened, that the Maral's wife, one time, was Passover morning, right before Passover, and everybody's busy running around. So she told the golem, says, you know what, I'll use him, even though her husband warned her not to. He says, Yossel, that was the name of the golem, Yossel, come here. Yossel comes running. He says, do me a favor, get me some water from the well. And she gives him a bucket. Anyway, he's a golem, right? Golems were never told not to stop. He was just told to do it. So I could see my kids doing that. Well, you told me to do it, once, twice. Anyway, the next thing you know, the whole place is flooded because nobody told the golem to stop. They told it to start, but they never told him to stop. They tell the story about this husband. His wife says, do me a favor, please go to the store and get me Tropicana orange juice. And if there is, also get me some eggs. He comes back with nothing. He says, why didn't you get me anything? He says, well, they didn't have the Tropicana orange juice. He says, why didn't you get me eggs? He said, well, yes. He said, get me Tropicana orange juice. And if there is, get me eggs. Well, there wasn't Tropicana orange juice. I didn't get you the eggs. That's how men operate. So there's always the little golem in every single one of us, as they say. So that is the golem. It did exist. It served a purpose, and the Maral, at a certain point, laid the golem to rest, and that was it. He served his mission. He did have supernatural powers, but he did not have brains. So he was not an intelligent golem. He just looked like a human, and the Maral would control it, like you control a robot. Go this, Mr. Roboto, go in all directions. Okay. So that is the golem. We'll now move on to another subject, voodoo and curses. Does Judaism believe that somebody can be cursed? And the answer is also yes. You can. Now, not everybody has that ability, but a person should not take, I don't know what voodoo is, but people someone say, oh, well, I'm a Jew, I don't believe in voodoo, I don't believe in curses. That might not be the case. Now, a lot of people ask me, do we believe that Kennedy was cursed? Well, I'm not God, I don't know, I'm not a great rabbi either. Now, my personal opinion is that he was cursed, not necessarily by a rabbi. People say, oh, there's different rumors about how he got cursed. There's 5 or 6 different versions. And they all have to do basically during the Holocaust, that he refused to help, and he was good friends with Henry Ford, the father of the Kennedys. Now, the flaw that I have in that, number one, is that all the stories about him being an ambassador during the Holocaust, he would not have been in a major position of power more than some other people, number one. Number two, if he was Henry Ford's friend, why was Henry Ford cursed? I mean, if you drive a Ford, I won't go there, no, just kidding. Support American cars, and they're actually pretty pro-Jews today. I think it's even run by Jews today, Ford, I don't know. But I'm kidding, but Ford wasn't cursed, but his friend was cursed. And the other thing is all his kids were very pro-Israel. In fact, Robert Kennedy was shot by an Arab because of his support. Sirhan Sirhan, he was a Palestinian who killed RFK. So I don't believe necessarily that all Holocaust was an anti-Semite, which he was. The father of the Kennedys was an anti-Semite, but not his kids. So I don't know if that would warrant someone to be cursed or not. But my personal opinion is that there's enough tragedy to just call it an accident. Now, may I be wrong? Yeah, of course. It might be just, it happens. The latest one was just a few months ago, during COVID. There was a Kennedy in Maryland or something that was going off a boat, and the kid's boat, they lost the ball. So she went to chase the ball. Do you guys hear about this? And she chased the ball, and the kid stayed on the raft. He was saved, and she was killed. And I think to myself, a Kennedy should be able to afford to go into Toys R Us or Walmart and buy another ball. You don't have to chase it for your life, but she was tragically killed. And that was another one. And it saddened me. And again, could it be just happened? It could. So anyone could believe what they want to believe. I don't believe necessarily that it was a rabbi that cursed him because of the Holocaust, but it definitely seems that that family has a lot more tsaris, misfortunes, than even by the law of averages. Yes, Leah.
But are there any actual cases on record of someone having a choo-choo train grow in their belly?
I'm going to assume that you mean something more than that.
Well, it's an old Yiddish curse.
Okay, gotcha. No, Yiddish has all its curses. A Yiddish curse would be, may all your teeth fall out, except the one that has a toothache. That would be a Yiddish curse. Or you should be like a lantern. You should stay up at night and lay dormant during the day or something. Different curses like that. So a train in your belly, okay. Now, a person has to be very careful not to curse somebody because your curse can have an effect. And usually, if you curse somebody, the effect is on you. So if a person says, I really hope they smash the car and they die, well, that's going to probably hurt you more than it's going to hurt that person. So a person has to be very careful. I still remember an episode of the Little Rascals, before all your time, but one of them, a falfer, one of them was getting spanked, and he put a book into his pants, and the father says, this is going to hurt me, son, more than it's going to hurt you. And he goes, boom, and it hurts his hand. He said, ouch. And the kid hears the father saying ouch. He realized that he goes, ouch. I still remember that episode. It's a long time ago, when I was a little kid. So, a person should be careful not to curse. Last week's Torah portion, it says, I will bless those that bless you, and those that curse you will be cursed. So one has to be very careful when it comes to curses. Okay, magic. For the most part, we do not believe that people do magic today. If somebody comes and says some type of trick, and he says, oh, look, I'm a magic, I'm an illusionist. I was in Mexico, this guy was doing this with the cups, and the only thing that disappeared was my money. So, a true story. So, we don't believe that people do magic. There's an interesting question. In Judaism, it says you're not allowed to use magic. It's in the Torah, which means that magic can be done in theory. Today, we don't know about that. So can you watch a magician? We always have Hanukkah. We have a magician. That's something that we always have some kind of entertainment. And the answer is that the entertainment that we have, even if we do not know the tricks, we do know that it's an illusion. So the better the magician, the better the illusion, the less chance you could figure it out. Every year after Hanukkah, I sit down with Gitti and I say, okay, I think you did this one. There's always like 6 tricks, and 4 out of 6 I can figure out. Some of them just can't. None of them I can perform, but some of them I can figure out. Okay, so we do not believe necessarily that there is magic around today. Okay, now there's something called ESP. We believe in ESP, extra special powers. So there can be people with abilities that others do not have. The answer is yes. But there's also more subtle things that we believe in that you can see clearly. It's discussed in Judaism, and I believe this is scientifically proven. If you stare at someone intently, they feel that you're staring at them. Well, how do they know you're staring at them? Well, they feel it. That's a form of ESP. Another thing it says in Judaism is kamayim ponim al ponim. The way you express someone is the way that they go back. If you show someone love, okay, almost always that person will reciprocate with love. It could be your enemy, it could be this. I have to fundraise, right? I always try to go into an office loving the person. Now, well, it's definitely love. The question is if it's the check or the person. I don't know which one which part is the love. But you show somebody love, they usually show you back love. That's a ESP. That's not a natural. I mean, it's natural. It's the way Hashem made the world, but it's not something that's necessarily purely logic. It's a feeling. It's a spiritual thing. It's not a physical thing. That you walk in and you express love, so people feel it. There's energy. You can sometimes walk into some place and you can feel the energy of that person. They're ready to, this comes bad news. So that also exists in Judaism in some way. All right. And now let's go on to another thing, which is miracles. Do Jews believe in miracles? Well, in many Chabad offices, there's a very big sign that says we do not believe in miracles. We rely on them. So, what is the Jewish view of miracles? The answer is we do not rely on them. We do not rely on a miracle, which means if a person is sick, you don't say, okay, God is going to heal them automatically. Or if a person needs money to pay their mortgage, Hashem is going to miraculously send me the money for the mortgage. No. You have to do your efforts. So, for example, the doctors could come and say, this person has very little chance of surviving. And you say, okay, but I'm going to do everything I can. And then miraculously the person survives. What does that mean? That means you put the effort in, and God made a miracle. Do we have examples of miracles that I would say is black and white? And I would say yes. I'll just use Israel for an example. Before the 6-Day War, for those of you that do remember, it's before my time, but I've read extensively on it. I read the newspapers. You know what the newspaper said? 30,000 dead. Israel is going to be in the biggest danger. The Prime Minister of Israel, his name was, somebody help me, I forgot his name. No, it's before Golda Meir. Eshkol, Levi Eshkol, thank you. Levi Eshkol gave a speech, and his purpose of the speech was to calm Israel. And his hands were shaking. He couldn't control himself. He was so nervous, his hands were shaking. It was known till today as the shaking speech. So that's how terrified they were. There was one rabbi, our Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, it's on tape, it's on video, that said miracles are going to take place. And he forbade any of his followers to go home. Nobody left. No Israelis, no Lubavitchers, American or Israeli, left Israel. On the contrary, they doubled down to help with the war effort in every single way. I don't know what Yeshiva Bochum could do. I think a lot of them built sand, the sand things, what's it called? The sandbags and ditches and other things to halt advances. But what happened afterwards? 6-Day War, a war that is studied till today, is known as one of the greatest battles ever in the history of warfare. 6 days, Israel destroyed 6 armies that were all mightier than him. So the painful part of that is that what did Israel say subsequently? They got up there and they said, well, it was our incredible intelligence, the Mossad, the intelligence that we had on the enemies, our spies. It was our superior Air Force. It was the skill of the tank operators. It was our superior weapons. And this is what made it happen. And the Rebbe, as well as other rabbis, were very grieved by this, that here God performed a miracle. You thought there's going to be 30,000 people dead. Your hands were shaking. Everyone was terrified. There was a genuine fright. And once God delivered such a beautiful victory, you now go and you say, okay, it was our superior. Well, guess what? 6 years later, in the Yom Kippur War, when Israel had superior intelligence, superior Air Force, superior tanks, superior commanders, and they came within an inch, it was also miracles. And the truth is, even the Yom Kippur War, there was tremendous, tremendous miracles, even though Israel lost a lot of soldiers, but what could have been, I don't know if you know this, if you study it, Egypt could have walked into Tel Aviv. There was nothing stopping them. There was a line, it was called the Bar Lev line. Bar Lev was a soldier. And the Bar Lev line was a very weak, because they didn't think that they're going to attack. Egypt destroyed it, and they had not yet mobilized. There wasn't. Okay, hold on one second. The kids are touching the internet, and there was a. They could have walked into Israel, and they didn't. They stopped. Nobody knows why they stopped. The Egyptians tried to justify it. That was the end of the generals there, because they could have won. But Hashem protected them. But a person sees miracle. I remember in the Gulf War in 1991. This I remember. This is not something I had to read. Missiles were falling onto Israel. 39 missiles fell into the heart of Israel. We're talking about Bnei Brak and gas stations and apartment buildings. Not one person was killed. Not one. It was tremendous miracles. And at the same time, our Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe's, performed a tremendous amount of miracles of people that couldn't have birth, that gave birth, people that were sick and got healed, and many other different things. I truly believe that the success of Chabad is something which is miraculous. I hope to see it here too. 4,000 Chabad houses. It's not, Chabad is not, they're more intelligent than regular people, they're better personality. It's nothing. But the way that the Rebbe was able to come up with such an idea, and what Chabad is today, is nothing short of miraculous. So we do believe in miracles. We do believe God can perform miracles. However, we do not rely on miracles. What we do, we don't give up hope. So if a person is sick, you don't say, well, we're not going to rely on miracles, so therefore the person's going to die. No, you put your trust in Hashem and hope for a miracle and pray for a miracle. But at the same time, you've got to do everything in your power to help the person. Okay. Any questions on any of these things that we covered today so far? All right. Let's move on now to the next topics, which is the afterlife. These are 3 different ones. We're going to do them briefly. I'm not going to spend a tremendous time on them. We'll just go through it briefly. So let's start with heaven. Do Jewish people believe in heaven? The answer is yes. What is heaven? Well, that's a whole different discussion exactly what it is, but basically it is a reward for the soul after it completes its mission in this world. So what is a tzaddik? If you're a righteous person, you fulfilled your mission, where do you go? You go to heaven. The soul gets now its benefits. Now what is heaven? It's a lot different than the way we assume. As a kid, you tell, what's heaven? You're going to get a big pile of ice cream the size of a car. Or as many slices of pizza as you want, or steaks. As you get more sophisticated, what's heaven? You're going to get a $200 bottle of wine served with caviar, and your taste change as you get more, you get older. But heaven is a reward, and it's spiritual. Now, spiritualness is more powerful than physical, even though we don't necessarily always act that way, but it is. How do we know? This is not posting. I don't know why. Are the kids on the internet?